Under the same moon, we share the love, embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spreading peace and joy, it's a beautiful sight. Together we shine in each other's light. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world share in love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Watching the World. We have so much to talk about tonight. We have an exciting case that's happening, and I've been in court each day to bring back the news about what's happening with Luigi Mangione. What a case. I'm telling you, it's so exciting. We're going to really break it down tonight and tell you the things seen and heard. But we're also going to talk about a lot of subjects that are pressing. In fact, we're going to talk about Donald Trump, what's happening with the Somalians. That's a big subject. Why are they being targeted? Epstein, the subject that will never go away. Will we see the files? That we do not know. Tonight we have with us the guest of all guests, Candace Kelley, a professor in the law. What a privilege it is to have her on board to help us navigate all of these subjects from a legal aspect. So without any further waiting, I'm going to bring on Candace. Welcome in.
Hey, good to see you, Mel. Like you said, a lot going on, and Trump never leaves us without something to talk about. So I know we're going right for it.
Yes. What do you think about the Democrats releasing all of this information, like the emails, and now they're putting out videos in regards to the Epstein Island? You think they're on a mission?
Listen, it's all political in terms of we've got, elections that folks are thinking about. It doesn't matter if it's 2 years from now, 1 year, 4 years from now. Everyone's always got elections on the mind, especially when Epstein and the files are something that Trump ran on and that other people ran on, and that other people who took positions in his executive cabinet were kind of banking on what happened that they could actually present to their constituents. And when that didn't happen, this is when this became such a brick wall, such an impasse for Trump, because it's so much information. His name is mentioned, as we know, though the implications of it are not deadly that his name is mentioned, but he wanted it to go away, and that didn't happen. Listen, when Marjorie Taylor Greene broke rank with the Republicans on this, we knew that this was a serious matter that was not going to go away. She's always been had allegiance to him, and now that has changed, and now she's going to retire. So this has been really, really big, and it's expected, and it's really necessary that we have these files released to the people, because these were the promises that were made to us, the voters.
Right. What do you think as far as the changes? They're so dramatic, quite different than what we've probably seen throughout our lives, wouldn't you say?
You mean in terms of changes in how this world is functioning and is on fire right now?
Yeah.
We're so much more closely connected. That's important to consider. And I think that we talked about this the other day. When I was in 6th and 7th and 8th grade, there were not a mass amount of international politics that was being taught to me and that I was exposed to. But these days, you will have a 7th or an 8th grader, because of social media and the algorithms, understanding what is going on in not just their town, not just their state, but the world at large. And they also have a platform on social media to have a say in all of that. So we're just a world that is configured so much differently than when I was growing up. I'm not surprised that because of all this connectivity, that people are often alarmed about certain things. They're well-informed and they're misinformed and they're over-informed about certain things. And, it kind of creates a different person who's out there and receiving information, and reactions are a lot more massive. Reactions are a lot more collective, and reactions are a lot more informed. So I think that social media, Google, AI, all of that has a lot to do with where we are and why everybody's so connected to politics. The other thing is we have to talk about the economy. We have to talk about the fact that people are screaming to make ends meet. We saw what happened with SNAP, the government shutdown. Price of eggs is always on the table. People use that as a threshold. Again, these are topics that are happening all at once. It's like the perfect storm. So I'm not surprised about what's going on in the world and kind of the way that it's imploding. Everything is happening at once because everyone's in the mix.
Right. When we covered Sean Diddy Combs' trial, and then Epstein seemed to really explode right after that. I'm like, wow, what
Yeah.
it's great. We have a new topic, right? But then it went away.
No,
It kind of
we
went away,
do.
right?
Yeah, it kind of, it did. And, I think that though, somewhere below the surface, everything is always simmering. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, the Sean Combs trial is over and has been for a while. And we've been getting some pictures from him in jail. But then you have 50 Cent's documentary. Then you have the Epstein. You thought that was going away. But then you've got, people women outside of the Capitol, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, saying, no, we're going for the jugular. So I think there's always some type of humming. The other thing is that the media is very different. It's kind of like COVID. People are still dying from COVID, right? They're not at hugely alarming rates, but they're still dying. We just don't see it in the headlines as much. So it really, listen, the algorithm is real. If you are liking, puppies and kittens, that's what you're going to see, right? So if people are really invested in politics and Trump or Marjorie Taylor Greene or the Obamas or I don't know, Marco Rubio, that's what they're going to see in their feed. And people, once you see something that's in your algorithm over and over again, that makes you a believer into more of what you believe already. There's their support system. So then you start believing everything that comes to you. And there's been studies on this. Then you kind of get comfortable and say, well, I've believed everything before that's come on my website, that's come on my algorithm, and I agree with everything. So then you have this algorithm, then it starts feeding you anything at once. And because you trust it so much, then you say, hey, maybe that's true also. And that is how algorithms works. And that's why we are where we are.
Speaking of the algorithm, I know I've been in court covering the Luigi Mangione, but I want to show you something that's really prevalent out here in the media when it comes to the Somalians. Let's take a quick look at it before we move on to Luigi Mangione. So I want to show you this.
All right.
Okay, let's check it out.
Saying that he's actually proud to have the largest Somali community. The mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, is saying that he's actually proud to have the largest Somali community in the country, and his police chief.
Well, then he's a fool.
Well, his police chief is also
I wouldn't be proud to have the largest Somalian. Look at their nation. Look how bad their nation. It's not even a nation. It's just people walking around killing each other. Look, these Somalians have taken billions of dollars out of our country. They've taken billions and billions of dollars. They have a representative, Ilhan Omar, who they say married her brother. It's a fraud. She tries to deny it now, but you can't really deny it because, it just happened. And she shouldn't be allowed to be a congresswoman, and I'm sure people are looking at that. And she should be thrown the hell out of our country. And most of those people, they have destroyed Minnesota, okay? Minnesota, you have an incompetent governor. You have a crooked governor. He's crooked as hell, but he's incompetent. Waltz he should be ashamed. That beautiful land, that beautiful state, it's a hellhole right now. And the Somalians should be out of here. They've destroyed our country. And all they do is complain, complain, complain. You have her. She's always talking about the Constitution provides me with, go back to your own country and figure out your Constitution. All she does is complain about this country. And without this country, she would not be in very good shape. She probably wouldn't be alive right now. So Somalia is considered by many to be the worst country on earth. I don't know. I haven't been there. I won't be there anytime soon, I hope. But what the Somalian people have done to Minnesota is not even believable. It's not even believable. And a lot of it starts with the governor. A lot of it starts with Barack Hussein Obama. because that's when people started coming in. And you have to have people come in that are going to love our country, cherish our country. They want to kiss our country goodnight. They talk about our country. We want them to pray for our country. This is not the people living in Minnesota. And she's a disaster. She should not be, and her friends shouldn't be allowed. Frankly, they shouldn't even be allowed to be congresspeople. Okay? They shouldn't even be allowed to be congresspeople.
Okay, so there you have it. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm really honing in on one thing he said. And he said, this is the worst country ever. Then he said, I don't know. And I'm hanging out my hat on that. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. And he kind of even second guesses himself inside of his own conversation. Somalis started coming to Minnesota in the 1920s. I mean, in 1990s, because of war, that's when there was a huge thrust of them from memory. You can check that out, folks, for me. But they have built up Minnesota. There are hundreds of companies and businesses and stores that they have. So, I don't know what to make of him. It's kind of like when someone speaks to me in a different language, I can't speak back because I don't know that language. And I don't know his language of kind of trying to put terror on people and speaking about people in such a disgusting way that, you kind of wonder what's going on in his heart and his head. It's just really kind of hard to respond with such rhetoric and with such vulgar that I'm listening to right here. And I'm not even sure what his point was. And I don't think he was sure what his point was. I think what he knows is that his base responds to things that are very divisive. And so he's able to keep that particular thread going through a lot of things in terms of what he says. And then he speaks to his base. He knows his base is listening. And I think that is the issue. He knows when to plug in a little bit of hate because his base really loves that. They love being separatists. They love being racist. They love being xenophobes. And so that's what we're seeing, him playing to his base.
Wow. Can you imagine if you're from Somalia? You must be terrified right now. I see also they're going to hit Louisiana and a few other states as well. So these people will probably faint out of fear, right?
Oh, no, absolutely. And, and they should be. Who knows what he has planned for tomorrow? He works by placing things on Truth Social. And that is the law for him. He puts it on Truth Social or whatever social media site he's using. So you're right. If you're somebody who's a Somalian, you got to think, all right, let me hunker down and think about what a plan of action will be if someone is knocking outside of my door soon. And that's not far-fetched because we see what has happened to other people who have had to hunker down and come up with plans of their own, whether it's, Washington, D.C. or, Los Angeles.
Right. We haven't had a real good chance to talk about what happened in D.C. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that before we move on to Luigi Mangione. What do you think about the National Guard and the whole shooting and the loss of life?
Yeah, well, listen, no one deserves to die that way. No one deserves to die. If you ask any National Guard, all right, what they're doing is they are following orders that are coming from above them. There are about, 2,300 National Guard that are on the ground there. And I think that anybody who's in their particular shoes would say, listen, we're doing what we said we were supposed to do. And they can't, as a group, say, hey, we're not going to do this. Now, there is the argument that if there are illegal orders that are given to them, the military and that branch of the government, then maybe they do have the right to say no. But will that really happen? And how will that actually play out? All right. So it's something that I'm not surprised has happened. More troops are now coming to Washington, D.C. And unless something is done to really say, this is the beginning, middle, and the end of this, there is no end in sight. Because the only reason why crime has gone down is because, of course, if you've got 2,300 people out on the streets, no one's going out and robbing people and robbing cars. You can't. What about when they leave? It is a Band-Aid, and that is the problem with this situation. It's a Band-Aid. They have to get something that's permanent, and that's what a lot of these mayors are asking for. It's not that we don't want violence to go down. It's the how that they're doing it, and that remains a point of contention.
Yeah, as I go to court each morning and for the Luigi Mangione case, I see the National Guard in the subway at Grand Central Station. They're in the streets. I'm not used to it, but it's fascinating to me, really.
Yeah, it is fascinating. It's fascinating to see, I think, more so how this will come to an end, right? Let's fast forward to, I don't know, 2035. The National Guard can't be out there that whole time. It's got to come to an end, but it doesn't seem like there's a plan. And if there is a plan, it hasn't been discussed.
Okay, so Brian Cantrell says there's evil in every race, but that is very crazy in Minnesota.
Yeah. And I'm assuming that he's talking about
Somalians, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's saying that there is evil in Somalians, or he's saying there's not. I just want to make sure I understand.
He's saying there's evil in every race, but it's crazy,
right.
crazy what they're doing to the Somalians, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not even a race. It's a people thing, right? It's a people thing. And as he said, there is evil in every race. Depends upon the person. What Trump does and what many people do in order to justify what they're saying, they don't have facts, they don't have numbers, they just have rhetoric that they're spewing out in order to rile people. Everybody's got evil, everybody's got nasty, everybody's got people that break the law within their but why are we even looking at it that way? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense for him to single, and I'm not sure why Somalia was on his radar like that today in terms of to go in so hard. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's almost worth not even talking about. I mean, it is, but it just doesn't go anywhere because he doesn't go anywhere with his rhetoric. It's just kind of him talking, and I don't like these people, but there's no leadership involved behind it in order to make something happen at the end.
Right, exactly. Guys, please take a moment, hit the like button, share, and subscribe. And also, Candace, Kelley, could you tell everybody what you do?
Yes, I'm at Candace Kelley TV, first of all. And I like to break down the law. I like for people to understand what's going on. I teach at Rowan University, and I'm also a legal commentator. And I'm here tonight to talk about all things Trump, Luigi, and Somalia.
Okay. Cole says, the left makes Trump the devil and the right makes him God. In reality, he's neither. Shameful how many people are brainwashed and polarized. Bunch of idiots watching Fox and CNN. Any thoughts on that?
Well, the polarization does happen in the media, and there have been studies that have shown that certainly, of course, that if you watch CNN and you're a liberal, that's your place to go. That if you're a conservative, Fox is your place to go. It is polarizing. It is a polarizing time. The question is, how do we stop it? I mean, you stop it little by little. You stop it by speaking with people. You stop it by, worrying about your neighbor and letting them understand who you are and letting them understand that this divisiveness that's happening on a large scale is not going on in your backyard. But on a larger level, when folks get online or when they go to a protest, that kind of mass consensus, it just beefs it up even more for people to be high-strung about their political beliefs. People have always had political beliefs that have been different. And yes, many times throughout history in America, we get these explosions because of this. But this seems to be kind of more man-made. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just, just kind of a lot of talking points. And in terms of what's going on today in the streets, it's not as if there are protesters and rallies that are happening across the country like there have been in some parts of this nation in this history. But today, specifically, it's really a Trump thing. It's really a Trump thing going out and making sure that these seeds of hate are planted because he's looking for some growth in a few weeks.
Okay. Billy Badman says Somalis are taking money from Black community.
Well, there have been many communities. I mean, we can talk about everything from gentrification. We can talk about everything from the mass movement of different people from various countries in the influx. I mean, if you go out to Detroit, Michigan, you're going to find a lot of Arabs, for example, right? There are places because they like to commune and be together and they find a place to be. If you go to parts of Maryland, you're going to find a huge contingency of Ethiopians. So I think that what he is saying is that, sure, they might be taking stuff from Black Americans in terms of if they take a corner store, yes, that store is not available to the Black American. But there's also the question of what is happening with Black folks in America, why he or she can't get that corner store, right? Because we know that many cultures work in more collective ways. When you think about Latinos, when you think about Africans and the way that they collectively commune historically and culturally, it is embedded in them in terms of how they do business, how they do life. So it's very different and unfair, I think, to kind of compare the culture of a Somalians or Ethiopians to Blacks, because it's a completely different history and they have a different way of interacting, communing, and building in order to make something of themselves when they come to America.
You know, speaking of Africans, I saw a real video, confirmed video. A lady, I believe she came out of Haiti,
Okay.
and they deported her to Africa. And you should have seen when she went to Africa, they had her by each of her limbs, throwing her into a van. And the family say they don't even know where she went.
Yeah, and that has happened. There have been people who they have deported to various parts of Africa. It makes no sense. I mean, I wish I had an answer for this. I think part of the answer is just the disorganization of it all. Again, you have a plan, but you have A, B, C to K, but we need to go to Z. What's the plan? Why is it that a Haitian would be in Africa? And so, again, that's something that's very messy and disorganized from the executive branch.
Okay. The Peterson Dean says liberals cannot peacefully coexist with Americans that disagree with them.
I don't know about that, Peter. All liberals, that is very kind of cast the net. All liberals can't agree with people, don't disagree with them. I think part of it has to do, well, with how we actually communicate with each other, and do we have the verbal resources and ability in order to do that? You know, most of the time when there's a big issue or there is a disagreement that is going on, if you make sense along the way and explaining what the point is you're trying to make, I know I often end up in a pretty fair situation in terms of, all right, I don't need to fight, I don't need to scream, but I do need to explain to this person exactly what's going on, respect them as we talk, okay? It's not always going to happen, but it is an art form to actually be able to have a positive and healthy dialogue. Look, Mel, you live in New York City, right? So I'm sure that there are times when people, do things that over the years you're like, why am I even addressing? Why am I have to fight everything? There's no reason to fight everything. And I think that we're in a space now where we've been given the right and opportunity, and we'll get the support to say, fight, 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 fight. Call people names, call them garbage. Africans are garbage. Somalians are the worst, and they've messed up this country. That's too much liberty. And you don't talk about liberals. Talk about the liberty and empowerment that people have by the government to say whatever they want. Is it working? You tell me how it's going.
Okay, Ice Cream Assassin fired back at the Peterson Dean. He says, no, we can't live with people who disagree with empirical facts, buddy. All right, so there's some pushback.
Yeah. And that is the thing too. It's the talk that gets me, that's bothersome. But I'd be willing to talk to someone who's on the other side. I think there would be a fine conversation. Let's think about Trump and all that talk he had about Mamdani. And then they sat there and it was a love fest. Oh boy. I mean, he loved him. He really just what was all that talk for? It didn't make sense. It didn't make sense, but it did make sense to his face. And it did make sense to what he was trying to do, which was just stir up some controversy. Then he got in front of him and said, basically, I really like you. Go figure.
Right. So despite everything that's happening, Epstein is back in town, and I think he's here to stay. And I think we're going to see new developments from it. I'm not sure if it's going to lead to anything major, but
yeah.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, he's here to stay. Listen, people are going to be going through those files and emails and connecting the dots for years to come. It'll eventually be a class at several universities across the country. There's just the whole thing in terms of who he was, how he was handled, what he meant to people, and what it means when we talk about power, influence, and control, and why we highly respect that and turn a blind eye when people are doing things wrong.
Okay, so for the last 2 days, I've been at the Luigi Mangione case. So,
Oh my! Now, first of all, I want to know, how is it going? And are there young ladies, especially outside, like in droves? What is going on outside there?
yeah, there's definitely a lot of young ladies out there, big fans of Mangione, believe that. One thing I would like to say, these ladies are very sophisticated. I think most of them probably either have their own business
Mm.
and they probably have high level office jobs to, from what I hear of them speaking.
Wow, that's really interesting. And then I understand that green is the color these days because Luigi is actually a Marvel character. I think he's a plumber, and Luigi actually dresses in green. Maybe some folks in the comments can talk a little bit more about Luigi. And so green has been this color, and I've seen some pictures. We have the ladies there in green. And I have to admit, I have spoken to, I teach. And so I've spoken to a lot of 21-year-olds who really feel and have an affinity towards this young man. A lot of young women, especially, they think it's a setup. And it's just interesting to hear people, again, have their views, right? And you have to be respectful about it, but, especially that age group, right? Now, is the demographic of the women that you are seeing there, are they in their 20s? I mean, are there some 30-something-year-olds? What does it look like?
I'd say they're roughly in their 20s.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. They are tougher than most men I know because a lot of them are sleeping out there in tents
Wow.
with sleeping bags. And I mean, when I tell you it's cold out there, it's super cold. But
Wow.
their
Wow. And they're on the
passion,
concrete?
yeah, and their passion for Luigi Mangione is stronger than the cold. And that's a lot to say because New York City is brutal.
Is a different kind of cold. The closer you
Different kind
get
of
down to
cold.
down water.
I
Yeah.
don't have the stamina for it.
Yeah. I'll be there on Friday. I'll see how I do. Listen, we could be in Chicago where there's a foot of snow, so that's good. But I am thinking about exactly how am I going to cover this case because I don't want to compete with a young group of people. Sean Combs was different, you know what I mean? I felt like it was slightly different. Young women who have kind of this Beatles sensibility about a young man that they think is good looking, you better watch out. You better have everything in order before you get down there.
And there's a few guys out there too that are big fans of his.
Okay. Wow.
One
Wow.
thing I
Yeah.
will say, the
Yeah.
media is covering the girls more than they're covering Luigi Mangione.
Wow.
Yeah, they're
Wow.
fascinated with the girls and why they would put so much into a man that allegedly stood in broad daylight, early morning, I should say, and took the life of a CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson.
So, that's a really interesting point because we know that recently a book came out about Luigi and it was just all about him and his background and things of that nature. It wasn't necessarily a legal look. But I think that studying Luigi and his background, what's going on in his head, you might as well also study the people who find him to be a hero. Because that phenomenon is something that people don't understand. I mean, I don't understand it. I would love to hear from these women a little bit more, like what is making them tick. So I'm saying, I guess I could see why they would cover these young women to that extent, because really, what is going on? I can't tell you. I don't know if they feel like this is a potential boyfriend in my head, or I really think that he did something wrong, or I don't know if, maybe their mothers had cancer and they believe that the health system should have been targeted and he represents this person who has hit the target. I can understand why these young women would be questioned by the media, because it's also just as an interesting case study as it is to look inside of Luigi's head, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. What's fascinating is we're sitting on the back rows, kind of similar to Sean Diddy Combs, right?
Uh-huh.
And whenever Luigi comes out, because Diddy was coming out from the left up front, where
Yes.
they bring you out, Donald Trump, because he wasn't arrested, he walked in through the same doors you're going to walk through on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
But in this courtroom, Luigi's coming out from the right front corner.
Okay.
And when he looks to the back, it's amazing. The girls all try to rise up to make eye contact with
Oh,
him
you
and things of
know,
that sort.
oh gosh. Oh,
I mean, they love this guy. You know what I mean?
yeah, you know what? When I go Friday, I'm going to talk to these girls too. I want to see what is on their mind, and they do love this guy. I mean, I guess if I'm that age, I guess he's a young man. He's got a head full of hair, and people say he's such a good shape, and he's got pictures of his six pack. We have been trained in this country for especially young women to have this goal of having a man. That is just the truth. Not as much as when I was younger, but for those people who have this, especially young people whose heads, listen, your brain is still forming when you're 20, 21. So it's all being worked out. So I can't say I blame them. It's something that it's a process. When I'm teaching and a student does something that I'm like, that was that particularly right, you have to think. That's why they're there. That's why they're that age. Think about you at 20. I don't know what you were doing, but not every night was something you wanted to report home to your mom, right? There were some mistakes that you and I made. And I think that I look at them in that way. I'm giving them a little breath and a little grace because of their age and because of the fact that they're always online and because of the way that we just kind of treat and train our women into buying in this idea about a man. That's just the truth. That's what we do.
Right. There was a reporter that sat in front of them. He had such a tall torso, and they actually made him move because they said he was blocking the view, and some of them wanted to make
Wow.
eye contact with Luigi.
Wow. Now, see, that's something they made him. So when you say they made him move, they said, what did they say? Sir, would you mind moving? And he moved behind them? Is that what he did?
It wasn't as sweet as that, but they were telling him, you need to move over there. We can't see. I mean, these girls are high level type
Wow.
girls. They're not just
Wow.
flim
Yeah.
flam.
I will say, I guess if you're going to come and see a little theater, you don't want somebody sitting with a big hat in front of you. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you're saying that the way they did it was kind of a little bit rough. I think the other thing too is that you sit where you sit. I've just had to move over. I would never ask anybody to move their prime seats. If you're in there and you got in front of them, that means you got there before them a little bit earlier. So why am I going to get there earlier than you when it only means I'm going to be sitting behind you? God bless that man for moving. But like you said, he probably looked at them and said, I don't want any of that. And he moved. So God bless him.
My line sitter called me today, probably around 8:30 in the morning. There was already 13 people in line.
Wow.
For tomorrow.
For tomorrow.
Yeah, for tomorrow.
Oh, you mean 8:30 p.m. tonight?
No, this morning. They were there. Yeah.
Right.
All day in line, all day.
That's
and
right.
all night.
Closed. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So can you imagine that?
No, I can't.
That's passion.
That is passion. So they're literally waiting 24 hours.
Oh, it's a round the clock operation. They're not letting up and they're running a mean operation. And listen, I take my hat off to them because they're doing an amazing job.
Wow. My question is, so what do they do on a normal day? Are these people missing school, work? Were they home? Are they in between? Hey, listen, somebody might be doing something creative around it. There is a play about Luigi Mangione. So I don't know if it's still playing, but I don't know what. But you know what? I'm going to have answers the next time I speak with you.
It's called the Luigi Revolution and its fears. Believe that.
Yeah, I listen. You never know what people have in mind. I am going to get answers on Friday, and I'm going to report back.
So you know my personality, right? A little bit.
Yeah.
I have serious problems with the case already.
You do. So listen, what you
get a chance to interview me. This is a rare moment. So.
Okay, good. I know what was so important was the video cam that you got to see in its entirety. It was pretty long, right? Like 40, 45 minutes. Did you change your mind after you saw it in terms of what you thought before and after, or did it not move? Do you think that they searched him properly?
No, you're more of the bookworm. So when you said that to me, I was like, well, what do they mean?
Yeah.
When I went to court, especially on Tuesday, I had a chance to see exactly what they meant. On the first day, on Monday, they basically had his gun. They had everything in the book bag and they just put it there. Blump. This is what we found. His diary, his gun in the bag. The second day, they played this video. It was a whole conglomerate body cam videos from each officer's angle. And it
Okay.
took all day pretty much to go through it.
Wow. So step by step, they went through it. What was Luigi's reaction?
He was sitting most of the day, leaning forward with his head down, like letting his head hang.
Wow.
I've never seen that. Like Diddy, I could tell you pretty much his normal stance or what
Right,
have
right.
you. But with Luigi is a little different. He seemed very confident. He didn't seem like a guy whose life was on the line.
Was there a sense, like, could you get a sense that, hey, the prosecutors thought they were winning, or was the Agnifilo defense team, did
Have
they
you?
feel like, yeah, we got that in?
Okay, first thing I want to tell you, Mark Agnifilo, I felt like, and shout out to you, Mark Agnifilo, if you happen to see this. I felt like with Diddy's case, he was somewhat acting sometimes, but
Okay.
his personality a little flustered or whatever. He's a different man for this trial. He's straight to the point. He's come to do business. Absolutely.
Really?
A different than Diddy's trial. I mean, he's aggressive and straight to the point.
Okay, so walk me through that once again. You're saying that with Diddy, he was more kind of showed his personality?
Yeah, he's just being very flustered, forgiving. Brian Steele was very confrontational with the judge.
Oh, he was.
Brian was always, oh, sorry, judge. Oh, let me find my paper. Oh, we made a mistake. Boop, boop, And one
Yeah.
time he was halfway crying. For this case, he's aggressive because his wife is there. And I think she's the best attorney.
Hello.
She's the best attorney. I'm telling you right now.
Let me tell you, you said it right there. The wife was there. First of all, when a husband and wife team get together, I'm sure that there's a totally different energy. They know each other well, and they're studying that case even when they go home. Let's be real. So they probably have a routine that's down that we didn't have the chance to see. It's kind of
Right.
like any husband and wife. You see a husband, he acts one way. Then you see him with his wife. There's a little bit of a different kind of nature in terms of how they act. And that might be a little bit of what it is. Well, the prosecutors, I've talked to you before, and you said that they are amazing also. That they
Yeah.
are
So have you ever seen the movie Columbo?
I have.
Okay, so the prosecutor, he's just like Columbo. He's very sharp. And let me tell you his strategy, right? He'll ask a series of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Then he triples back on that fourth question and re-asks what he asked on the first question to try to trip you up right in live time. So I noticed he does that a lot.
Yeah. There's a real art to cross-examining a person and actually asking them questions. Did you think that just in terms of what you saw from the judge and how he acted, did you get a sense, hey, this is a fair judge? Which is how I felt most of the time with the Sean Combs case.
Yeah, and this particular case is much different than Diddy's case. When the defense is objecting, the judge is just wiping it away.
Really?
He's going against the grain. Pretty much, I'd say about 90% of the time. I was shocked. He's letting the prosecutor ask the questions needed. Most of the day, we only heard from the arresting officer.
Yeah, and the arresting officer, and then there were some other people too who testified. Did you get a sense that even from him that he was telling the truth? For example, when they said, "Hey, we didn't have the search warrant, but we thought that there was a bomb. We thought that there was something at risk. He was going to put people at risk, which would kind of displace the search warrant because you can look within arm's reach if you think that maybe there was a bomb in the bag." Did that come out as something that rung true?
Nope. Might as well knock it off. Knock it off. The police,
Yeah.
listen, I lost my faith in the police officers because this officer was lying to Luigi back to back. And it's something needs to be done about that.
So you mean just in terms of him saying, for example, I understand that the policeman said, for example, there have been a lot of people who've been hanging around McDonald's, and that's why we're here trying to stop that process, but that was a lie. You mean stuff like that?
Right. And so they said, well, why did you lie about that? He says, well, I was just trying to keep him calm while the lieutenant was on the way. So, right off the bat, Luigi was trying to figure out, where this whole thing was going. The defense really did a good job. Karen Agnifilo, she showed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, she's very precise and to the point. In the video, Luigi is sitting in the corner in the back by the bathroom.
Yeah.
When the call comes in from 911, the officer, he talks to dispatch and they say, hey, the shooter from New York, that's what they call him, the New York shooter. They think he's in McDonald's. He was sarcastic. So she's like, well, why was he sarcastic? He was like, well, I didn't think that this was a New York shooter.
Yeah.
They get to McDonald's, they go in and they seem to walk straight to Luigi, and he's sitting there. He has on a blue medical mask. He has on a brown beanie and a coat of some sort, right? And they walk past him and they said, well, why did you walk past him and you didn't walk straight to him? He said, well, I wanted to get a glimpse of him and I wanted him to feel easy, because they stepped to the bathroom, then they stepped back to Luigi and they says, hey, we got to complain about you. So Luigi is sitting in the corner. He has this wall to his left. Behind him is the wall.
Right.
And the officer, how in McDonald's there's always like a little table and chair in the corner.
Right there in the corner.
The officer stood right in front of him, and Karen Agnifilo did a great job showing that basically he couldn't go anywhere because you were blocking him, right? And that's how she carefully built her story as to, you went 20 minutes and you never, read him his rights. And so that's the big issue, because he did have this book bag.
Yes.
But the officer basically, while he's waiting for his lieutenant to come, because what they were doing, they were treating him like this big, high profile criminal. And instead of just taking care of protocol and business, they were calling their friends and other officers, hey, I got Luigi. And it really came out in court.
Right. And then there was something about, his lieutenant betting him a hoagie sandwich, that if you get him, I owe you a hoagie sandwich. There were some things that I think any police officer would probably be embarrassed about, because this is a heavy topic. A man lost his life and you're talking about hoagies. So that definitely wasn't a good look. And I understand your point in that if Luigi felt like he was in custody based upon the positioning of the body, well, then that's a problem. Because if you're in custody, right, and if she can make that point, which it sounds like you're saying she's doing a very good job, then he should have been Mirandized. And then at that point, he wouldn't, nothing, then there wouldn't have been a problem if he said something, because he would have been at least read his rights, or he would have been given the opportunity to say nothing, right? You have the right to remain silent. And I
want to be very clear, because I'm just saying, when it came to this particular point, it was not handled the right way. I also saw the video, they played it, where Brian Thompson was walking down the street minding his business. He seemed to be swaying like he was in a great mood.
Yeah.
And Luigi, or allegedly him, pulled up. He was lying in wait. That came out in court. He shot the man in the back. Brian Thompson turned around. He looked like he was in pain. He looked like he was startled. And then he took another shot, and then he went down in the darkness. So there was 3 bullets that came out in court that had the words delay, deny, and depose. So I imagine that's 3 shots at least. I couldn't determine by watching the video. So I don't want to take away from that. That's not what I'm saying. I want to separate these 2 parts. And maybe you could expound on why this is so important for the defense to make this statement or make the claim that he was not handled properly.
Yeah, well, there are 2 things that are going on. One is the things that he actually said. They're saying, well, you didn't give his Miranda rights in proper time. And because of that, what he said should be excluded. Then there's the warrant, the things that you found, the way that you looked through his bag without a warrant, right? You got one later, hours later. But at that time, all of those things that you found, since they came from an unnecessary and illegal warrantless search, then that should be excluded too. So that means that you negate the whole day at McDonald's because of how police handled their business, according to the defense. So those are the 2 main issues that they're looking at now. They're trying to get Altoona, Pennsylvania, moved out of the way in terms of anything that came from that. The writings, the gun, the false IDs, anything that he said, they want all of that to be nixed. And that's the point that they're actually trying to make. Now, the police are saying, well, hey, we actually had the right to look through his bag because this guy just shot somebody, right? He's probably a dangerous man. So this is why we're looking through the bags. We want to make sure he's not going to do it again. Now, what worked well for the police officers is that they did find a gun. So that kind of rises to the occasion of their logic. There was a gun in there. Could he have potentially done something with that? On the other hand, they waited a pretty long time. If they really thought that they were, in danger, why didn't they look through the bag a little quicker? All right. So you couldn't have thought you were in that much danger if, 10, 12 minutes went by or however many minutes went by before you actually looked through the bag. It wasn't something that was that important and kind of this imminent harm that you felt. Not at all. And that's what works against them. Let me tell you, the judge, I think, is going to make the decision, I think, tomorrow or Friday on a lot of these issues. It's going to change the case if he says, in fact, some of this stuff is just not admissible. Now, the other thing, and you probably saw this on the camera too, and you saw what a lot of us didn't see because news organizations, and rightfully so, even with a warning, you don't want to see somebody go down and be shot several times. And so we didn't see what you saw. You also saw more of when and how the officers arrived, because even though a couple of officers testified, there were a lot more there that kind of almost, I would say, blocked him in. Like, I don't know if he felt like, oh, I can actually go. I don't think he ever at one point felt like I can actually go. But guess what? At some points in that video, he could have actually gotten up because he wasn't under arrest. He wasn't anything. They didn't tell him anything. And that was the problem.
That was the whole point that Karen Agnifilo was trying to make, is that basically you had him cornered and he couldn't go anywhere. So
yeah.
And when Luigi was asking, like, why am I here? The officer is saying, well, McDonald's, there's a complaint because you were sitting here for 40 minutes. And Luigi kept showing his receipt to show the time that he came. And then the officer came back and says, oh, in the last month, we've had 6 times when McDonald's called because people are just sitting in the lobby too long. All of these are lies. And so when Karen Agnifilo was cross-examining the officer, right?
Oh boy, yeah.
Because there's a point while they're waiting, Luigi is eating a steak sandwich. It's breakfast time,
right?
9 something in the morning. I think the call came in at 9:14. So the officer says to Luigi, oh, are you eating steak? Luigi says, yeah. He says, oh, steak is my favorite. So under cross-examination, Karen Agnifilo says, you said that steak is your favorite, right? The officer said, yeah. She said, were you lying about that too? And everybody started laughing. And then the court bailiff says, be quiet, everyone. So it was very exciting case, I'm telling you.
Talk about a setup, because what she essentially is doing is saying, pretty easy for you to lie, sir. So how would he even believe anything that you're saying? And that is a bad look. That is a bad look. And I don't think that his tactics were like you said. We have to once again say that the CEO of United Healthcare has died. His family has suffered a massive loss. But on the other hand, we have the Constitution, especially the 6th Amendment, in order to protect someone who is accused, and you have to go through the process. So this is why it's interesting to take a look at Karen Agnifilo and see what she's doing in his defense. You really get to see how the justice system plays out, even when you see a man on camera shoot the man right in front of you. It can often be confusing and kind of almost unacceptable. Like, I see a lot of comments, people are like, okay, we saw him, shot him. Let's go. What's the problem? Why are you even going through this? They think it's ridiculous. Until you're in that situation, everybody is guaranteed a fair trial. And so that's where we are. And when we look at that, I see exactly what Karen Agnifilo is doing and what you're describing. No one wants to go on the stand and look like a liar. And that's exactly what she's setting up. So it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds.
You know what else is intriguing is that the officer kept turning off of his body cam.
And why do you
So
think that was?
when he went outside to talk to the fellow officer and they were probably bragging about the big catch,
Sure.
he turns off his cam. Another time, there's a female officer that calls in and she's like, "Oh, I heard over the radio, you want me to come over?" He's like, "I have to call you back." He's trying to downplay it.
Uh-huh.
When she came to McDonald's, she was starting to tell him the whole story about how she heard about this catch, whatever. She looks down and she notices that his body cam is turned on and she stops talking. Then the officer immediately turns off his body cam. So under cross-examination, Karen Ignifilo is saying, do you have a red light on your body cam?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. And then she played the snippet and she says, so she saw that your camera was on and stopped talking, and then you turned your camera off in 2 seconds. Yeah, I did it.
Wow. And what did he say
What are you
happened?
talking about? Oh, I don't know.
Huh.
He don't know.
He doesn't know. He remembers all the other Yeah,
You
that's
see what I'm saying? This is a big,
yeah.
I'm just telling you, sitting there, I see a good case to get those items set aside. I really do.
Right. Now, if we get those items set aside, we are left with some evidence. We are left with his DNA cup at a Starbucks. We are left with video of him. We are left with pictures, whether he was at the hostel, in that cab. We are left with some connective tissue that the prosecution can still use. So even if we do get rid of the weapon, we get rid of all of that, I'm not sure if jurors will think anything otherwise after connecting the dots and seeing, allegedly him shoot Brian Thompson, get on a bike, go through Central Park, come out of the other end, get in that cat, like all of those things. I'm not sure if they will be able to say those dots do not connect. I think there's a lot of connective tissue.
Oh, I have a powerful point for you. I didn't get a chance to tell you this.
Okay.
When the call came in, I think the person says he's sitting there on his laptop. When the officer comes in, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's saying that Luigi's sitting there on his laptop. Karen Ignifilo, who is giving him cross-examination, she's representing Luigi. She shows a picture of the laptops, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember the laptops. Then she shows the table. There's never a laptop on the table.
Wow.
He swore he saw a laptop, but there was never a laptop. It was only in his mind.
Wow. Okay.
And you know how these cases go. They're
Yeah.
going to tear him apart on the trial. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, when I heard that he had this potential laptop, I thought, what kind of laptop would that be where he would be on it and track it? But the pictures, you don't see it. I was like, maybe it's in his bag because I heard the same report too, that he had a laptop. Wow. Yeah.
So the officer is saying he walked up and saw a laptop. Karen Ignifilo had the camera pulled up. She was like, what's that on the table? Oh, that's his sandwich wrap. Oh, there's a CBS bag, right?
Yeah.
And there's a couple other things. And so she was like, she showed another video of them putting all those items into a brown paper bag and to throw it away. She was like, so you didn't think it was important to keep those artifacts that were on the table? He said, the officer said, oh, no, I didn't think of that.
Wow. All of his DNA evidence on there, everything.
Basically, he was being sarcastic with her. So you know how that goes. That doesn't play good in court when you're sarcastic to anybody, And
that's what they call a really good lesson on impeaching the witness's credibility. And that's exactly what she did. I'm surprised, if it just would have taken a beat, because if they collected everything, he didn't think to remember that there was no laptop. That's amazing.
I think what happened, there was a laptop in the bag, but he never saw it until they actually went to the jail and looked at his items, you see.
I see what you're saying. Wow.
So let me give you this other point, right? Check this out. When Luigi's sitting at the table, right, in the corner, his bag is on the floor, he's eating. The officer never steps to get in between him and his bag until the lieutenant come that offered the hoagie, because he's like, oh, this lieutenant probably is going to ask us why we didn't commandeer the bag. So all of a sudden, when the lieutenant is surveying Luigi, trying to see if he could recognize Luigi, you could see the officer saying, oh, he steps in front of the bag so he wouldn't get caught for not doing his job properly. This is my opinion. He never got in front of the bag and Luigi until the high-ranking lieutenant showed up.
Wow. So
Like
there's a lot of dynamics there. Did you learn anything about, I guess, how these police? It seems like they're a close-knit bunch of police officers. Did you learn anything about the dynamics of how they do business? Did they seem sharp? Did the lieutenant seem to take control of the situation when he got there?
They seemed like a group of guys. Let me tell you this way. The call comes in around 9:14, right?
Yeah.
By 9:51, there's 12 officers standing around Luigi. So they're calling everybody in like I have the catch of the year, right? You get the drift, right? This is my opinion.
Yeah.
But it turned into a high-profile case. Like, for instance, when they took Luigi to the police car, they had another officer come over and he puts Luigi in the car. And, Karen kind of calls him out and like, so why did you have to get this other officer to walk him to? So you're letting your buddy get some fanfare, get some publicity. They turned this into this hype case, and I think it's going to cost them.
Wow. Yeah, that is not a good look for the police officers. And I would say that, again, this is because we have to look at both sides, that the defense is doing their jobs. It makes a difference when you have a good attorney and some money who knows exactly what they're talking about. And this is a prime example of that. And this is a prime example as to why the justice system is broken in so many ways. One's liberty should not, depend and lean on someone's, bank. That doesn't make any sense. But we see exactly what happens when you do have money to hire some of the best attorneys, because we've seen them in action many, many times.
Yeah, from what I understand, there's a lot more money coming into this case once the trial begins. He already has over 1.4 million that people have contributed. So imagine that. Yeah.
And all those people that are sending letters and all those people, they're the ones that are contributing to his defense. I mean, he has a log. He does logs of all the letters, or as much as he can. And he's responded to some people. We know that he's talked about, how grateful he is to people in this support. Again, we were talking about just who is this guy in his mind. Can't wait until he ultimately, that's going to be the interview of the century between Luigi, and I think Luigi even more than Sean. If you were a reporter and you had your choice to interview Sean Combs or Luigi, who would you choose?
I would say, I think I would go with Sean.
You would go with Sean? Yeah,
because it's a lot of unanswered questions I would really want to know.
Yeah, he does have more unanswered questions. I might have to put a bookmark. Who would I interview? I might go with Luigi. I feel like I know so much about Sean that I can kind of more piece that together. But if he was going to answer every question truthfully, Sean would be. But I don't think he would be. Luigi, I know less about him, and we know less about him. We don't have thousands of interviews that he's done over years. We just have this guy and some writings and some postings and a valedictorian speech. We really don't know who he is, and that would be interesting.
So most of the people, there was a point where he turned around to someone and I could read his lips because I'm sitting right behind him, basically.
Okay.
And he says, "Did you get my card?" And the person must have said yes, because he was like, okay. So
wow.
I did hear.
What you are telling me, wait a minute. Did you get my card? Okay.
Yeah, that's what he said. I'm pretty good at reading lips. So,
wow.
But the people that are his fans, they said that they've been sending him letters and he's responding, and there's a whole operation going on here. Like I said, there's a whole group of people. I mean, several groups that are really big fans. They have a revolution, and they plan to help him get the least amount of time as possible, I would imagine.
Yeah, they said, besides his chores and things that he's doing in there, or besides the work he's doing, he is commandeering letters and, organizing them. And I just imagine him walking with a big bag, you're getting 100 letters a day, and dealing with all of that like he is an ambassador. It's just a very interesting study.
Right. So it's good to have you here to help us break down because I didn't understand why they could actually throw out some of these items. It's a potential, for that. But
Yeah.
I will tell you this: at the end of the day, after Karen Agnifilo said her spiel, the prosecutor bounced right back and said to the, because she was finishing her cross examination, and he went really hard back to the officer. Listen, at the end of the day, who chose to sit in that seat? Luigi. He really was nailing it.
Wow. All right. Yeah, you see some good lawyering. I invite everyone, if you have the chance at some point, even if it's not this trial, go down and look at a case. See what your tax dollars are doing for you and how the justice system is working. That's why the doors are open to the public, because that firsthand information about how the justice system works up close and personal, it's fascinating. It's much different when you read about it or see how it plays out on Law and Order. To be up close and personal, I assure you, what actually happens in the the courtroom is never translated well. I don't think you can't in the media. It always feels a little bit different, right? But to be there, you really get a sense of how the justice system is working.
Now we've reached our time, but I will say this, right? I sat through all of Sean Combs' case just as much as you did.
Yes.
I was troubled by the video of Cassie being kicked. Not only that, on the first day, I think I counted they played it 9 times slow.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that does not compare to seeing this guy being unalived on video. So if you take away all of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
You can't get around that video.
I see your point. Right.
And here's the thing, right? You could take away all the evidence, right? Because it's 2 separate factors because I'm following these cases, Trump, Luigi, Diddy cases.
Mm-hmm.
You see what he's wearing, the shooter is wearing, although you can't see the shooter's face.
Yes.
And you see him take the life of Brian Thompson. But then you see it's very unique what he has on. And for the life of me, I don't understand why he kept all the evidence all the way to McDonald's. Like, who in their right mind would do that, right? But at any rate,
I think maybe he had a plan. Either he was going to dump it or maybe he wanted to have it. Just, people who do sick things like to keep memorabilia and like to keep stuff from the crime. But again, that's why I would love to go into his head.
Okay, so at the hostel, hotel hostel, right?
Oh yeah,
in New York, when he pulls down his mask, which was a silly mistake, all the officers there are basically saying, especially the arresting officer, saying once he pulled down his mask at McDonald's when he was being arrested, they knew 100% it was him. And when the lieutenant came and looked in his face, they're like, without a doubt, shadow of a doubt. So he had on the same garb, same coat,
right,
same backpack.
Didn't think that through, huh?
Like,
yeah.
well,
Nah,
so
didn't think that through.
So that's we'll have to see what happens here, but I'll definitely be there.
Absolutely, yes, indeed. We will continue to cover this case. A lot more to come. They're not done with the witnesses. I know they had about 28 that were on the list. That doesn't mean that they're going to call all of them, but the potential of that. It will definitely take us to the end of this week.
Okay, very good. So thank you so much for coming on. We've reached our time. As always, it goes so fast when someone of such a high caliber as you is on the ticket, right?
Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate all of that fanfare. Thank you, Mal.
And thank you guys for all the comments. Let's see if we could you have time for maybe 1 or 2 just to see what people are saying here.
Sure.
Okay, let's see. All right, let's see. Vado says he be out of jail at 5 years.
Let's see. We have 2nd-degree manslaughter on this, and so if he's talking about these particular charges, maybe. But if we go to the federal charges where they have not removed the death penalty off the table, I don't know. Then we got to go to Pennsylvania. He's got charges there. I don't know. I think that, that's given him a lot of luxury to say 5 years. As Mel said, that tape says quite a bit. It speaks volumes.
Okay, here's our last question or comment. Ice Cream Assassin says, and thank you so much, Ice Cream Assassin. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and lock in with us. I like your comments. He says he was sending a message and may have wanted to be caught as a martyr to the cause against capitalism in healthcare.
And he makes a very good point, because you would think somebody that has his, you know, wit and wherewithal about him, Mr. Valedictorian and double Ivy League, that you would get rid of the evidence. There has to be a reason why he kept it. Either he was about to get rid of it, even though he had 5 days, right? This shooting happened on the 4th. He was picked up on the 9th. There must have been some intention, just like the last poster said, with this. Like, there have to have been some other meaning, or else he had 5 days before it totally whole to get rid of it. So I think that there was a reason behind that, and it might point to just what he says. Listen, the Unabomber is someone who did what he did and he went away in hiding. But there are some people who commit crimes and they want to know, right? They've got the newspaper articles and they're posting it up in its wallpaper in their apartments. And he might be one of those people who likes to see himself. The fact that you said that he mouthed to someone, "Did you get my card?" One, we do know that he's already communicating with people who are out there in the world. He seems to get a little bit of a lift from it. That's just what it feels like so far.
Right. Oh, so there's another important point I just wanted to tell you right before we go.
Sure.
When it came to his driver's license, he had a fake ID. But at some point, when the police officer said, "Hey, buddy, if you lie to us again, we know this is fake. You lie one more time, it's going to be a felony and you're going to get arrested," right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when Karen Agnifilo went through the law, it basically said she was going through his charges.
Yes.
And the officer is saying, "Well, I charged him what the DA said I should charge."
Mm-hmm.
So one of the stipulations of law that she went through says, when you tell the person officially you're acting as an officer and they lie after that point, then they could be charged for it. And so she broke down and got him to admit that once you told him, "Listen, if you don't come clean, you're going to get charged," he never did lie again. So she said, why did he get charged for the fake driver's license?
Wow. You know? Yeah.
So he said, you know what he said?
What did he say?
Well, the DA told me to do it.
You know.
So you know.
Talk about brokenness in the system, and a word we've talked about before, discretion, right? The DA has discretion. He had discretion. You have to, and this is why the charges end up to be so willy-nilly, depending upon who you are. And the fact is that he did mislead him. And I know that there are some jurisdictions where you cannot lie to people in order to get the information that you want. You have to be honest in your process of getting the information. And that really, and I see why there are some jurisdictions that I think, at Chicago, I believe, from my memory, that they have rules on the books where you cannot lie during an interrogation process. You have to be truthful. And I can see why, or else now you're leading a person down a road and making them think something inside of a justice system that you think is going to be fair and honest and truthful. But you're working with me and it's all on lies. Do you even like a steak sandwich? I think she hit the nail on the head.
Right on. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoy Friday being in the court.
All right. Yeah, we'll see me out there in the cold. I'll report back.
On your way out, tell everyone how they can find you and what you do.
All right. Candace Kelley TV. I'm also the host of the podcast Not All Hood, which you can find on all of the platforms from Apple to Spotify. And then I'm also on Instagram at Candace Kelley TV. And for those of you who are interested in the law or TV, I'm a professor. Would love to have you come down and visit Rowan University. Check out our amazing program where we're helping young people all day go out to be reporters and teaching them about the law.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Different voices, but the same song. Living a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. better days inside. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.